Greetings, friends. Today we'll explore the Buddha's teachings on abortion and the beginning of life, drawing directly from the words of the Buddha as recorded in the Pali Canon. The Buddha consistently emphasized the importance of non-violence and respect for all forms of life. In the Dhammapada, he states, "All tremble at violence, all fear death. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill nor cause another to kill." This principle of non-harm extends to unborn life as well. In the Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha established rules for monks and nuns, including a prohibition on assisting with abortions. The text states, "Should any bhikkhu intentionally deprive a human being of life or seek an abortionist for a pregnant woman, he is defeated and no longer in communion." This rule highlights the seriousness with which the Buddha viewed the taking of human life, including that of unborn children. But when exactly does life begin, according to the Buddha? To understand this, we need to look at the Buddha's teachings on rebirth and conception. In the Mahatthanasankaya Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha explains the process of rebirth. Monks, the descent of the embryo occurs with the union of three things. When there is the union of the mother and father, and the mother is in season, and the Gandhaba is present, with the union of these three things, the descent of the embryo occurs. Here, the Buddha describes three necessary conditions for conception: the union of mother and father, the mother's fertility, and the presence of a Gandhaba, a being ready for rebirth. This suggests that from the Buddhist perspective, life begins at the moment of conception. The Buddha further elaborates on the development of the embryo in the Indaka Sutta of the Samyutta Nikaya. First, there is the Kalala. From the Kalala comes the Abuddha. From the Abuddha comes the Pisi. From the Pisi comes the Ghana. From the Ghana come the branches, namely the head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, and so on. This description of fetal development, starting from the moment of conception, reinforces the idea that life begins at the earliest stages of pregnancy. The Buddha's teachings on karma, also play a role in understanding the Buddhist view on abortion. In the Kulakama Vibhanga Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha explains, "Beings are owners of their karma, heirs of their karma, born of their karma, related to their karma, and have their karma as their refuge." It is karma that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. This principle suggests that even an unborn child has its own karma and potential for future lives, further emphasizing the ethical weight of abortion. However, it's important to note that while the Buddha clearly valued all life, including that of unborn children, he also emphasized compassion and understanding in all situations. In the Anguttara Nikaya, he teaches, "I do not say that you can attain purity by views, traditions, knowledge, or virtue and vows. Neither is it attained by lack of views, traditions, knowledge, virtue, and vows. By not grasping at any of these and not rejecting them, not depending on them, not being bound by them, one is released from suffering." This teaching reminds us to approach complex ethical issues with wisdom and compassion rather than rigid dogmatism. To illustrate these principles, let's consider a story from the Buddha's time. Once, a woman named Kisagotama lost her only child and, grief-stricken, carried the dead body from house to house, begging for medicine to bring him back to life. The Buddha, seeing her distress, asked her to bring him a mustard seed from a house where no one had ever died. As she searched, she gradually realized the universality of death and the nature of impermanence, leading to her acceptance and eventual enlightenment. While this story doesn't directly address abortion, it illustrates the Buddha's compassionate approach to suffering and loss, and his emphasis on understanding the nature of life and death. In conclusion, based on the Buddha's direct teachings, we can see that Buddhism generally views life as beginning at conception and places great value on all forms of life, including the unborn. However, the Buddha also taught us to approach all situations with wisdom and compassion, understanding the complexities of human experience and the universality of suffering. As we navigate these challenging ethical questions, we're encouraged to cultivate deep understanding, compassion, and respect for all beings.